Welcome to the Henry Ford Museum. This museum consists of three separate sections: the main museum area, the Rouge factory tour, and the Greenfield Village. The main museum itself covers a staggering 12 acres or 523,000 square feet of indoor exhibit space. There is over 26 million items in the collection. However, only a fraction of these are actually on display. Some of the notable pieces are Rosa Parks' bus, the chair that Abraham Lincoln was sitting in when he was assassinated, and the limousine that John F. Kennedy was riding on that fateful day. There is a copy of the Declaration of Independence. This is one of only 30 copies believed to still be in existence of the original 200 that were authorized. This is a life mask of Abraham Lincoln that was done in April of 1860, just after he had received the Republican nomination for president. He stated that the process was anything but agreeable. Lincoln's chair was originally held as evidence by the federal government in the investigation of the assassination of Abraham Lincoln. Later, it was turned over to the Smithsonian, and then the family of the Ford Theater demanded that it be returned. The heir then sold it to the Ford Museum. On December 1st, 1955, in Montgomery, Alabama, after a long day's work, Rosa Parks took a seat in the colored section as the bus filled up. The driver demanded she give up her seat to a white passenger. But Rosa Parks had had enough. She refused. An act of quiet defiance that sparked the Montgomery bus boycott. Her courageous stand wasn't an accident. It was a calculated act of civil disobedience. Her simple no became a powerful symbol, igniting the modern civil rights movement and changing the course of history forever. Calling all geeks and mathematic engineers, this is Mathematica. This is kind of an active display of a variety of different things that show you the different things about mathematics and how important it is to our lives. There's a section on furniture through the centuries. This is fully furnished. It's furnishings from many different eras, many different styles, showing the craftsmanship. Two notable pieces: the writing table of Edgar Allan Poe and the drop table of Mark Twain. Agriculture and the environment. When the first gasoline-fueled tractor appeared in 1892, nearly 40% of the U.S. population lived on farms. Today, only 1.5% of all Americans live on farms, but their work, raising crops and tending livestock, occupies a remarkable 40% of the U.S. landmass. Farmers transformed America's landscape with the agricultural machinery in this exhibit. Explore the implements that set stage for the production of agriculture and others that remain essential to the alternative and small-scale farming today. Find your place in time. This is just an exhibit that breaks down a lot of different eras, and I think I found my place in time. Yeah, I remember these. Just about all of this was in my home at one point in time. Well, except for the Apple. We were IBM people. So the term Nickelodeon, I mean, we know it now as far as a TV channel, but it's been a phrase that's been around for a long period of time, and it was basically about the movies. Nickelodeon came from the fact that it was a nickel to come in and see the movies. And it really starts going back into time and a lot of different eras. So if you can't find your era here, then, well, you're either too old or you're too young. 1810, American workshops were run by water or muscle power. By 1880, most factories were run by steam. The care and feeding of steam engines became a major concern of factory managers. Building steam engines became a major industry itself. Ford had a huge need for electricity, so they built 9 of these generators utilizing both steam and internal combustion as a hybrid for their electricity generation. On pioneers in flight. During a demonstration in 1940, Sikorsky flew this helicopter backwards, sideways, up and down. He even spun around, but he didn't fly forward. That is the minor engineering problem we have not yet solved. There's a barnstorming section where you can see the tribute to all of the acrobatics that have been done with flying, including a section where you can step in and feel what it's like to be a wing walker. And this is a plane that is reputedly the plane that was the first to fly over the North Pole, although there is some question and debate on that matter. But there is no debate about this plane being the first to fly over the South Pole. And Ford's attempt to make the skies accessible to man just like the Model T. The Ford Flivver, while it was a good effort, simply didn't quite measure up, as it was just a little bit too dangerous. And of course, the pioneers of flight, the Wright brothers, and there's an exhibit. This is a replica of the Wright Flyer, and if you step outside into Greenfield Village, you'll see the bike shop where everything began. This is an Allegheny locomotive. These were among some of the largest and most powerful steam locomotives ever built. They could haul freight, mostly coal, in trains that were 1.25 miles long. And talking about large, this is one of the largest snowplows you will ever see. It was a Canadian Pacific snowplow. There is a really great locomotive display here. Just a lot of different things that were from the history of our trains. And as a part of everything that's on display, it's the full history of the locomotive, including how early on it was really just a combination of rail and stagecoach. Driving America. This is the largest portion of the museum, as it is dedicated to automotive and also to just general road travel. One of the exhibits is Reagan's limousine. This was the one that he was actually shoved into during the assassination attempt. They also have the limousine that Kennedy was riding in when he was assassinated in Dallas. Next up is the 1950 Lincoln Cosmopolitan that was used by President Eisenhower. This is sometimes referred to as the bubble top. That top was not actually bulletproof, but it was so that he could be seen even when it was raining. This is a 1939 Lincoln K series that was used by Franklin Delano Roosevelt. He was more often seen with this top down, and it was referred to as the Sunshine Special. Finally, the 1902 Brougham carriage. This was ridden by Theodore Roosevelt, and it was really only used once for the president. Interesting fact, I believe this one was electric. This is an exhibit of family motor cars over the year, the 1904 Ford, a 1918 Overland, a Plymouth Deluxe Suburban, all the way up to the modern Caravan. Holiday Inn was the first, I think, coast-to-coast chain. Opened in 1952. Always planned their stops ahead of time. Holiday Inns multiplied, the sign became a message. Turn here for predictable quality experience. So if you thought the Mustang electric was ugly, get a load of this. So this is an 1865 Roper steam carriage. It is the oldest surviving American automobile. 1901 Columbia Victoria, and this was an electric. These were the ones that were popular initially simply because of the fact that nobody really wanted to hand crank the start on the internal combustion engines. So this was the Omni. We actually had the Horizon that was built by Chrysler. It's the same vehicle. And I think it was even the same color. Funny part is the exhibit had a letter from the bank robber Clyde Barrow, basically extolling to Henry Ford the virtues of making such a great getaway car.
This was a winner of the 24-hour Le Mans. 8,467 miles this car drove. Having driven in Indianapolis, I can attest that just about every other driver thinks they're driving one of these on the highway.
Henry Ford and the other builders of 999 were afraid to drive this brutish machine, so they hired professional bicycle racer named Barney Oldfield. He had never driven a car before, but he not only mastered, he also won his first race. This is what remains from one of the worst crashes in Indy 500 history. David Whittier's car hit the outside wall, exploded, and overturned. Walter suffered burns and injuries from his hands, but he recovered and returned to race again in 1974. After World War II, hot rodders started using the external fuel tanks from fighter planes as car bodies. The teardrop shape was ideal for speed runs on dry lake beds and Utah's Bonneville Salt Flats. In November 1965, this vehicle broke the land speed record at 409 miles an hour for the fastest wheel-driven car. Although other cars reached higher speeds with jets or rockets, this car held the record for traditional wheel-driven cars until 1991. And so we end where it all began. This is the 1896 quadricycle built by Ford himself. This was hand-built in his workshop, and when he went to test drive it, he actually had to use an axe to break out a larger section of the wall so he can get it out. This is the beginning, folks, so make sure you like and subscribe for more content.